Hello everyone and welcome back to We Summit 24. Did you enjoy your lunch? Yeah! 맛있게 드셨어요? Yeah! 좋습니다. Okay, well, as you know, we are here for 2 days in the beautiful city of Busan at the Busan Esports Arena, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our event. My name is Laura McCluckey, and I'm your host for We Summit 2024. 반갑습니다. Oh, thank you. So I would like to, first of all, say a huge thank you to our supporters for We Summit 24. Busan Metropolitan City, of course, a fantastic supporter of our event. The Busan IT Promotion Industry Promotion Agency, as well as the Ministry of Culture, Sport and Tourism in Korea. We couldn't do it without you. And of course, we couldn't do it without the speakers, the fans, and everybody else. So let's get into another inspiring session. The next session is titled Sponsoring the Esports Future. Leading sponsors of esports leagues and teams will offer their perspectives on the value of esports sponsorships. Now, this session will examine the impact of sponsorships on the growth of the industry and what lies ahead for future partnerships. The moderator for this panel is Karina Zimenaite, CEO and co-founder of Z1MT Creative. There she comes. Karina will be joined by Jarrell Tam, founder of Talon Esports, Samart Benjamin Asarasakorn, executive board member at the IESF, and Antonio Azevedo, Senior Partnership Manager at OG Esports. Please welcome them to We Summit 2024. Benji. He told us to call him Benji. He likes it. Okay, enjoy your session, everyone. Thank you.
So here we are, a wonderful panel of friendly speakers. We wanted to check in with the audience. Probably people still returning from lunch. I think we got the hottest topic of them all. Everyone's been talking for 2 days about sponsorships, and we actually can delve into this topic a little bit deeper. Just to sort of warm up people in the audience, I wanted to ask, for the show of hands, who has ever had anything to do with a sponsorship, whether sponsoring or being sponsored within esports? Well, we imagined more, but guys, you gotta have to get going. But let's see if our speakers today and myself can give a little bit of insights. And let's start with a short round of introductions. Ben, let's go with you.
Hello, Sawasdee Krap. My real name is Samart Benjamin Asarasakorn, but everybody calls me Ben or Benji, however you like it. So I started out with the Thai Football Federation, doing commercial rights for them, then had my own agency, dealing with FIFA World Cup, sponsors like McDonald's, all the FIFA sponsors, doing hospitality tickets, and then started my own agency in broadcasting rights, events, doing exhibition matches with Premier League football players, and I joined IESF as a board member, looking at commercial rights and helping to find commercial partners for IESF.
Cool, let's go.
Hey guys, my name's Gerald and I'm from Talon. If you guys don't know about Talon, we're an esports organization based out of Asia. We're headquartered in Hong Kong, and we have about 12 teams across Asia Pacific. So we compete in some of the biggest titles in esports, like League of Legends, Dota, Valorant, CS, Honor of Kings, that kind of thing. We also have a creative agency that we use to help at the brands that we work with in terms of sponsorships, in terms of brand activations, that kind of thing. And but my background has mainly been in finance and banking. I worked in the sector for about 10 years. I'm also the CFO of Talon, and in addition to that, I also look at a lot of the innovation that we can kind of pioneer within the space. And so I think it is very relevant to the topic today of sponsorships. I think for esports, it's definitely a space that is not at that level of maturity where everything is sort of there's a playbook that is standard across teams or tournaments and that kind of thing. So I'm very happy to be here to talk about how we can kind of pioneer, think of new innovative ideas within the space.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Antonio Azevedo. I'm from Portugal, Lisbon. I'm currently Senior Partnerships Manager at OG Esports. For the ones who don't know, we are most famous for our Dota 2 team and for the 2 TI Champions back-to-back titles. Prior to esports, I've been working mostly in marketing agencies, also some tech startups in the marketing department. My background is in PR and marketing. And 5 years ago, I jumped into esports, started with some startups more focused on other games such as PUBG PC and PUBG Mobile a bit as well. And then later on joined OG, which now I'm doing 3 years already at OG. I'm also a visiting professor at local Lisbon University of Media Studies, teaching a bit about communication and gaming and how brands can enter in this world.
Cool, thank you guys. And to wrap it up, my name is Karina, originally Lithuanian, but the last 10 years I've been living in Germany. Made my name, I guess, in esports, even though I worked prior in other places, but being a head of content at G2 Esports for 4.5 years. And the last 2 years, I've been leading my own creative studio, working with different brand partners. We also been working at the Esports World Cup this year. So I do have quite a lot of experience of connecting, especially team environment and the partners together, creating different assets for them, marketing campaigns. So I'm very excited to see what we gonna discuss here today. And as a first kind of thought, I was thinking, I feel like sponsorships today are not really traditional sponsorships anymore. It's more of a partnership because you kind of have to pick and choose what works well for you. It's more than just transaction. And I just want to probably starting to sort of switch it up with you, Gerald. What do sponsors look for nowadays? Why they come to you? Why they choose esports?
Yeah, for sure. I think sponsors or partners, as I think we'd like to call them now, they want to partner with a brand or a team that is very credible, very successful within esports. I think brands are looking for an association that they can kind of leverage off. You want to be a winning team. You want to do great content. You want to have some personality within your organization. That can kind of they can bounce some ideas or kind of or products off that puts them in a great kind of spotlight as well. I think we've worked with a number of different sponsors over the years, and this ranges from anything from the gaming peripherals such as mice, keyboards like Razer and Logitech, to clubs like PSG, which is a football club based out of Paris. And we've worked on different brands depending on what their objectives are. I think some brands are looking for they want revenue, they want sales, some want recognition within the esports space because it hits a very very targeted demographic, which is mainly younger males who are fairly I would say educated, fairly well off, intelligent, and they want to hit them with some of their interests, right? And I think esports brings a lot of opportunity for them to activate within the space where it is which is very close to the fan base too. So what I mean is that you can do activations at tournaments. You can have your offsites. You have watch parties, and you have your streamers. And I would say that there is a level of proximity and closeness that the fans have to esports teams and their players that is maybe a little missing from traditional sports, where it is a lot bigger for sure, and plays a lot less accessible than their esports counterparts. So I would say, to summarize, brands are looking for a very good association and a way to kind of get closer to fans and make something happen there.
Awesome, thank you. And obviously, Talon is Asian org. Going to OG, which is way more European, is there any differences, similarities? How do you feel, Antonio?
Actually, I think it's pretty similar. I think brands nowadays also look to to the esports orgs also as a creative agency. There's a bit of these expectations that since we are like digital clubs, that we'll provide next level or higher quality or more ideas, disruptive ideas compared to maybe traditional sports. So they rely a lot on our creativity and our guidance to really show the brand in a different way that they might not do in traditional sports and traditional sponsorships. And of course, beyond that, I think it's very global. Some of the objectives, of course, it depends then from brand and brand, depending on the stage as well. If they are more looking to brand awareness, more looking to traffic acquisition, of course, depends on those smaller goals. But then at the end of the day, they are all looking to this tech and young audience, the Gen Z, the millennials, especially because it's way cheaper to reach them through esports than traditional sports, where the market is way wider and it's way more expensive. So overall, I think on the raw terms, it's pretty equal, pretty global. And then it really depends down to brand and specific partner objectives and audience target and demographics.
Cool, yeah, and we probably can go into a couple of examples later, but before we jump there, I wanted to ask you, Ben, because we are not just talking about commercial partnerships as well. There's different types of sponsorships, and maybe you can talk a little bit when it comes to tournaments, leagues from IESF perspective, maybe cities even. Give a couple of examples where you had or you know and worked on good collaborations.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add to Gerald and Antonio that from a club perspective, nowadays the traditional sports marketing agencies is not irrelevant, but it is transformed into another thing because most of these guys, they have internal commercial rights department as well. IESF also has an internal marketing team going out there trying to work with brands, work with host cities, work with partners in developing a product for IESF, so IESF can go out there, promote itself as the international esports tournament, which we have over 150, 160 countries participating. The product of IESF is more of a partnership. Our main focus are host cities, whether it's government, whether it's the city itself or the Ministry of Sports. Plus, we have some commercial partners in the events management field who would like to take the rights from IESF point of view is that it is selling an IP. But that IP, once it's acquired by the partners, they go and find sponsors or their partners. And sponsors can be broken up into many categories. It doesn't mean only money. It can be a collaboration, developing a product together, co-branded, and doing revenue shares. So it doesn't have to be the traditional way of a FIFA model, of a F1 model, where cash is king, but it's more of bringing a brand that has a good name. Maybe it's a value in kind together with your event so that it raises the bar with that product.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's really fair to say that good partnerships, smart sponsorships definitely impact the overall growth of our industry. And I think from my experience, when we had especially big non-endemic partners coming in, for example, from fashion world, we had Ralph Lauren join G2 back in the days, or Adidas. Those brands and those collaborations also help us spread the word. And I was wondering if you guys have any type of examples where successful partnerships helped you elevate your team, your brand, and sort of spread the message further.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think one of the most famous partnerships that we have is obviously with PSG. So we started with them back in 2020 when they partner with us for League of Legends. Currently, we have 2 squads that are partnered with them, League and also Rainbow Six. I think given that it was such a non-endemic and such a different kind of partnership, where I would say it's more of a partnership / JV as opposed to a true sponsorship. So it's a little different in that regard. It's obviously a traditional sporting brand coming to the space, which means, which is a great endorsement, I think, for esports as well. It is a household name within football fans. Everyone knows PSG, just like they kind of like know Man U, and it was a very interesting, I think, partnership because it was a bit of a clash between the traditional competitive world of football and that of esports and League of Legends as well. And I think it raised a lot of interest within esports itself because of that nature. And I think, with them, their objective was really to build out their brand, the awareness of PSG across Asia, because, our team is situated in Taiwan, and we have Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korean players. And they just wanted to kind of build out their fandom within the region. PSG is very well known in France, within Europe, within that kind of region, but less so than, say, Premier League clubs in Asia, such as the Man U's, Chelsea's, that kind of thing. And so, in order to build that kind of presence, and like Antonio was saying, it's like going to esports. It may be a lot cheaper than, say, some of the other avenues. And so we've worked with them for about, I think, close to 5 years now, since 2020. We've won 8 of the last 10 League of Legends championships with them as a partner. So on the competitive front, I would say we've done pretty well. I think that it's a combination of our philosophy to competition, as well as some of their they're also, they're winners too. We share ideas in terms of like how we manage and coach and our players. They visited the stadium, I think, during MSI last year as well. So there's always some cross-regional kind of collaboration and content that's great for the fans to see. And I think in terms of objectives for both our brands, we really were able to elevate each other, both our brands within gaming and sports, and bring that to a wider audience than we were able to hit before. And so to us, I think that's a very successful partnership that we were able to break, and we still continue to maintain that. And I think it is that direction that we're going. Esports is becoming more and more in the mainstream, and I think PSG, to their credit, had that kind of foresight to kind of come in a little earlier than maybe some other football teams or other non-endemic brands. So yeah, it's a great one for us.
Cool. And before we continue, I just have a short follow-up question, just because I'm very curious myself. I obviously have followed PSG. I was always wondering how Talon, of all Asian teams, managed to secure that partnership, because obviously there's big teams in Korea, big teams in China, right? What made you stand out?
Well, we met them back in, I think it was 2019, and we were a relatively smaller club back then and lesser known. They wanted to come to the Thai market, and so us alongside some other clubs, we did meet with PSG to talk about a partnership, collaboration. We had a team back then in Arena of Valor, which is a MOBA for the SEA Hong Kong Taiwan market. And when we talked to their representatives over there, I think we just got along very well. We had a very similar kind of philosophy and mentality when it comes to competition and training and approach to winning. And it was just it was a conversation. It was a conversation, and we just got along very well. I think we had very similar values, and it was a very natural fit. So Yeah, that was pretty much
cool,
it.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Before we go to Antonio's example, just because Ben, you have like a traditional sports experience, right? I was wondering, like, if you see that this is sort of a tendency of clubs, sports venturing into esports, because also we wanted to discuss today whether there are advantages going into esports versus as opposed to traditional sports, and if this is their solution to it. Like, how do you see it?
Yeah, definitely. Most of the traditional sports don't really understand about gaming, first of all, let alone esports. Esports is, in my definition of esports, it's like the top tier of competitive gaming, you know? And everybody starts from competitive gaming, whether it's casual, whether it's just playing with friends, and then it gets more serious. So definitely the traditional sports is looking to partner up with clubs like Talon or OG, and there are many, many examples internationally and regionally. But on the other hand, also they also focus on what are the popular sports in each region and each market too. So like, let's say, okay, football is a simple one, but if everybody plays football around the world. But if you, let's say, Thailand, you know, it's boxing, Muay Thai, or golf, for example. So, but in another region, it could be basketball, like in the Philippines, for example. So the traditional sports, they will go more into which market has the popular sport there, and they will collab with the National Esports Federation, or they go to clubs like Talon or OG and develop a team or an event or a tournament, which is branded the IEF, the traditional sport. Let's say it's basketball. FIBA has, I think, NBA 2K. They partner with the National Federation there, or a esports event organizer to do their events. So we're seeing a lot of trends in the traditional sports, whether it's a smaller traditional sport or FIFA, for example. And of course, we have the Olympics now, which is the hot topic at the moment with the Olympic esports games. But still trying to figure out how to, what are the titles, how is it going to work, and collaborate with which IFs, which traditional sports as well.
Yeah, and obviously want to return to Antonio, just because we were talking about how partnerships can create great impact within the esports world, and I'm wondering, obviously, if OG had any example of similar collab.
Yeah, of course. First of all, I think the cool thing to work in sponsorships in esports, it's that goes both ways, right? So we are bringing brands into the esports world, but at the same time, those brands will be communicating about the esports ecosystem, which is, of course, still growing and there's still a long way ahead. One of our, I think, like the main examples or case studies of OG, of course, will always be Red Bull. It's almost like we are close to do a decade of partnership with them. They have been with us since almost the beginning. The 2 TI titles, we were already with Red Bull. We have done a lot of impressive content, including the Against All Odds, also the SEB documentary more recently, which I invite everyone to see, reaching a lot of views, million views already, surpassing that. And so with the power of a brand like Red Bull with us as well, the amount of people that we reach and communicated about esports, it's something that we are very proud of. But at the same time, we have other case studies, which it's also interesting to see the power of esports in this aspect. For example, the B2B world, which is not that often that we see, but for example, we are working with Wintermute, and their key goals, of course, is market positioning. So they want to be as an innovative brand on the top of the new trends of the digital world. So that's a key reason why they partner and enter in the esports world. But at the same time, employer branding, because a lot of times they saw that traders also have very similar skills than gamers. So they wanted to merge these worlds. And so we showed our community the possibilities of going into the crypto world, trading, etc. At the same time, they have strong communities, and they are showing how cool is the esports world and this new world of entertainment. So I think that's, at the end of the day, what also excites a lot of us working with brands.
Yeah, and we basically touched up a little bit about why brands and partners are choosing esports versus sports. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are actually the hurdles potentially of the brands working with esports. And I personally think that always comes down to authenticity and being a good fit. But how do we connect those words? And like, do you choose partners carefully? What are those aspects? And I think everyone can pitch in. So you guys feel free to jump in who wants to go first. And I think also Ben's gonna have an interesting take because these type of partnerships require a little bit of different connection, right?
Yeah, I'll add a couple of points. I think with esports being relatively new kind of competitive category for a lot of brands, it just comes down to some education amongst the brands who are looking at the space. So I think for us, we have been very active in the education of some of the major brands. So we've done a lot of talks with like some of the banks, JP Morgan, HSBC, UBS, those kind of guys, just to learn more about like how it kind of works and what aspects of or what parts of the ecosystem they can be a part of. We've done education sessions with like, Durex and those kind of guys, consumer goods, where they want to, target that demographic that we have a lot of exposure to. And so, what does it mean to be within, to sponsor a tournament or sponsor a team? They obviously know what it looks like when a football team or something like that is being sponsored. But how does it work in terms of esports? What does the tournament structure look like? Where are the assets that are exposed during a broadcast? What are the activations you can do with the product itself? And how close can you be to the fan base, the players, and all that kind of stuff too? So I think once they learn about how that kind of works, because it's only been around, I would say, for a lot less time than traditional sports. Once they kind of upskill themselves in that kind of knowledge, and I think it's a responsibility of the entire industry to make this kind of happen too, right? Not just teams, it's TOs and bodies like IESF to really put that and push that forward. So yeah, the education part is a big one.
Yeah. To add on this, I think for many you'd be surprised of how many people we talk on a daily basis or on these kind of commercial meetings with people that are not aware of platforms such Twitch or Discord. So you can see that there's really a long way of education for brands. And I think it's also understandable. I think from a brand perspective, esports right now, it's a very fragmented ecosystem, and maybe organizations and federations such as IESF are doing a good job on trying to bring a bit unity, because for a brand to look into esports, it's like how many game titles there is, how many clubs there is, how many different tournaments there is. Some of the game titles have their tournaments based on the publisher, for example, Riot Games. Other no, CS, you can do a tournament wherever you want. So there's a lot of touch points and entrance points to esports, and it's a bit overwhelming for a partner or for a brand that's looking into this ecosystem. So I think it really comes down to this education level, as Gerald was mentioning, and then also guiding and showing good results. And that's our part as well. Like, we can be still, like some scenarios you can still see very amateur level in many countries where you expect working with specific sponsorships and then show no data, show no results. We need to also professionalize more our community, our scene, and so that starts with us as well. We need to show that we are a market ready, such as traditional sports, and we actually have added value to the brands that are entering in.
Yeah, I think everyone remembers how probably like 5 years ago, but some orgs to this day manually pulling data out of platforms. But yeah, Ben, go ahead. What's your experience?
Yeah, just want to add on to what these guys were saying. I mean, for IESF, we try to educate the market and people that talk to us that actually we are not an event organizer. It is a must for us to do a world championship. And that's like with any other traditional sports, is the world championship, period. And then we over the years, we found that, okay, it's, the World Championship is the premier of our sport for the event. But then we have regionals, we have continentals, and the product is getting more reach into the different continents. We also need to find good partners in each continent as well. And it's all about educating. What is IESF? What is the World Championship? Is it different to the Esports World Cup? Or is it different to, I don't know, what is one of the TI or something like that, or Worlds, different games. Oh, didn't you have a World Champion? Yeah, but it's another game. But us is bringing all the games together. And, why is IESF doing with these tournaments? What is the difference between all the other tournaments? I like to say that we are more of an amateur league where everyone can come and participate. You know, everyone can, whether you come from a village and you get qualified from your national federation, and you have a chance to, from zero to hero, like I always like to pitch that marketing angle. And I think that over the years, we learned that as we selling the host cities, it's getting bigger and bigger. The numbers are there. We're getting good viewership with the games that are part of the World Championship. And we are finding new partners in each region to collaborate even more.
And obviously we covered educational aspect, the right fit aspect, but I sometimes feel that there's still struggles to deliver on the objectives that the partner has. And what do you guys think? What is the best way to align with those needs? Because I think this is also one of the reasons why esports there was this discussion for a long time. Is esports a sport? Is it entertainment? Because we were trying to get fit into some box which would fit sort of the experience of other industries and help the partners understand it better. So what do you think on top of education? How do you work to deliver what they need while still staying true to ourselves?
I can go on. I think it seems a bit basic, but it's really about, in the beginning, to understand very well what are the partner's objectives. Because if you start in the wrong foot, and a lot of times we see this because, as we were talking, educating the partners, a lot of time partners will go on board with our suggestions, with our approach. And if we don't understand our partners' objectives and goals, and if we go on a completely different strategy, at the end of the day, after 1 year, 2 years of partnership, we are showing results, and they will not be happy, and of course will not be happy as well with the outcome that we produced. So it's very important that in the beginning, there's this clear alignment between both brands. And I think that also starts when picking the brands that we work with. I know that a lot of times it's not easy, especially right now with a lot of organizations struggling to get revenue and getting sponsors, but it starts with choosing very well the brands that you are working with that aligns with your core values, and then the next step is really understanding what's the outcome that they want. And a lot of times this comes with stages. I can also give just to a more practical example, but of course betting brands are very common in esports, right? And we actually worked with a betting brand, and we suggested that in the beginning we shouldn't do or very push CTAs, call to actions, traffic acquisition, because of course we know our audience, we know our fan base, which actually is our most valuable asset. And so we know that if we entered with the wrong foot, that could create bad results, bad reputation. And the first year of the partnership was mostly focused on brand awareness and delivering tailored content to our fans associated with that brand, so they could build better reputation in the start. And later on, of course, at the end of the day, we know that a betting brand still needs traffic acquisition, still needs to drive revenue. So on the second stage of the partnership, we start including more these steps. So I think this is a clear example of ways of working in a strategic and planned way that create better results. And of course, not all partners, not all brands will be happy to this. And then going back to the beginning, that's where he entered the fact that we need to choose very, very well the brands that we work with.
Yeah, we had similar experiences with some of the betting brands as well. I would say that you just have to be very realistic in terms of what you can deliver and not overpromise on some of the metrics that they're talking about as well. So very much so in the betting space, you want to guarantee X number of signups, all that kind of stuff. It is very much a brand building exercise where you are using your association to give them that association with credibility, being with winners, that kind of thing, and the user acquisition can come perhaps later on. I would say that very similar in the crypto space, we do a number of deals with some of the games and platforms, and we would hardly ever, guarantee a UA or a set target because it is very hard to guarantee that kind of thing. We would push for more on the awareness again, because it is very subjective in terms of like what your fan base will be receptive to. There are guys, if you have a MOBA that you're kind of promoting, then of course the MOBA guys are going to be maybe interested in that, and less so on the FPS side. So I think in terms of the objectives, they have to be aligned with what you can actually deliver, and it has to be very much communicated from the very start. And like Antonio was saying, you have to be picky in terms of the brands and the companies that you do work with. The alignment has to be there for there to be a successful campaign.
Amazing. And Ben, for you, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like potentially with different governmental offices and like regional, national entities, you could be potentially facing a little bit more conservative approach, right? Is that the case? And how you guys are dealing? What are potentially challenges, and how do you align on those objectives?
I think with IESF regarding finding host cities, because that's mostly our client, so to say, is about also quite the opposite here, is that we need to understand first what are their objectives, which usually is wanting to be a event, a destination city, to have a international world-class event hosted in their city, and that will attract tourism, that will attract people coming in, spending not just at the event, but for the local economy as well. So we have to understand first what are the whole city's objective, and also it creates economic infrastructure as well. So like some cities may have a bigger budget than others, obviously, to build stadiums and building internet infrastructure that will, after the World Championships, it will be there for the city to use, and not just for esports, but for other conferences and other events. So it kind of upgrades the whole city. And then this can be a model that can be replicated in other regions or in that country. There's so many cities there. So understanding the whole city is important, and also understanding the ministry, with working with the governments and the NGOs there about educating the youth, because that is the target market for gaming and esports, obviously. So computer literacy, understanding the academic side of if you want to be an esports gamer or a game developer, or production behind the scenes, what are the things that they need to learn on this topic.
Yeah, and as we basically getting closer to the end, I want to talk a little bit about the future and some trends that will be driving esports sponsorships. However, before we jump into this, I want to add something from myself, because you guys were talking about brand visibility and sort of, familiarizing your audience, your fan base with whoever you partnered with. And I have a feeling that there was a lot of brands at a certain time who burned from being always push for this brand awareness, but that was not tangible at the point, and you couldn't calculate it well. And I think this is why nowadays everyone is solving that situation, acquiring data partners, and kind of providing numbers to what this awareness means, because I think there was really a big drop, and I think that was probably around COVID times, where a lot of brands pulled back and they were like, we don't understand what it brings to us. Did you observe any kind of trends like this and some shifts in how the partnerships work and how better to work with sponsors in the future?
Definitely. You nailed it. You reach exactly like there was a clear trend in the market of brands pulling out, and especially seeing no value, no return on investment. At the end of the day, that's what they are looking. Nobody likes to lose money. So, and connecting to, I think, a trend also on the future of esports is that a lot of brands are seeing more potential in content creators. We have seen, I've heard this from many brands, they're saying like, we see more results if we partner with certain streamers, certain content creators for smaller amount of times as well. So they don't need to commit for 1 year, 2 years of a sponsorship. So I think esports, a lot of them are already doing that, and a lot of them will need to start adapting their model as well, and include content creators as a core part of this strategy to work with brands. And I think that will also create great synergies, especially with tournament organizers. We are already seeing that tournament organizers are also seeing the potential of content creators. We see more and more people doing watch parties, broadcasting the games through their Twitch channels, getting a lot of views, sometimes even more views than the tournament organizer itself. So I think the future of sponsorships will have a lot of synergies between esports orgs, content creators, and also tournament organizers, so we can all benefit from the added value that we all each other can give to each other. But just on another point as well, and to close, I think we talk about, of course, trends on esports, future sponsorships. Yes, there will be changes. We are going to the future. New trends come in, but we also need to realize that esports is not that old, especially compared to traditional sports. So part of the future is still the process of education. So we are still in the early stages. A lot of non-endemic brands are still to enter the world, are still to understand this ecosystem. So yeah, we are already seeing shifts in ways of working with brands, but at the same time, we are still very early on the education process, in my opinion, of course.
Anyone else? Any additional thoughts on trends and what's going to be the driving force for the future partnerships?
Yeah, just to add to Antonio as well, I think in terms of content creators, we do have a bunch signed to our brand, and I think it just gives a different angle for sponsors to kind of like activate their brand within the space. I would say content creators are more on the casual side, less professional pro players, have maybe a bigger personality and appeals to a wider kind of audience as well. I think there's organizations right now that are created by content creators that are doing quite well. So you can see that personality has a lot to do with like the success of maybe some of the brand campaigns, and there is just more flexibility when it comes to maybe a shorter term campaign that you want to do for maybe a week or a month with a KOL as opposed to a team. Trend wise, I would say that I think both us and OG are more on the crypto friendly side, where we are very open to like developments within that space. I think it is that crypto is at the very forefront of technology in terms of like decentralized applications, and I think there is a lot of potential within the space itself. I know right now it is still somewhat niche, but given the nature of it is still very digital. Esports is very much in that realm. There is a lot of, I would say, pioneering to be done, and I think you'll probably see a lot more brands from the crypto world coming to esports and doing some hopefully some very, very cool things there too. So I would say keep a lookout for new stuff there.
Sweet. Ben, anything to wrap it up?
Yeah, on a more high level, I would say, more national level, is that we're seeing a lot of trends in that each country wants to promote their culture, their what we call now soft power, like Korea, obviously. The soft power is there's a lot here with K-pop, the food, and everything else. So a lot of the governments and a lot of the cities, they probably want to promote their soft power by using esports, which is a younger demographics. Taken, for example, in Bangkok, in the city, a vibrant city with food and culture, and a tourist destination, and of course talent is there. We find that the gaming industry there is booming. We have a lot of talent there, and then the tourism board would like to use the Thai culture to promote the country. We have a lot of talks with them as well, and many countries, like for example Bali, when we did the World Championships there, the numbers of tourists increased after the World Championships.
I'd like an invitation next time.
Sorry?
I'd like an invitation next time. Bali sounds great.
Well, we may go there yet. So it's not just about doing an esports tournament or an event. It's also about learning the culture, the customs, and integrating that with esports. What IESF is all about is bringing people together, for one, bringing different demographics as well, the age gap. So that is also part of the education and learning curve. So I would say the trend for the future would be using each culture and the differences, and esports, so IESF as a world champ, doing a world champion, bringing people together, uniting everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just a small thing to add from myself, because this is what I do on the daily. I feel like it's a continuing trend, but something which you guys all mentioned, that it's really important to understand what you stand for and what your values are. So you have to also do work and create that brand, create that identity, so that people can come to you and you can find those aligning points. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It was really fun.
Oh, I just want to add
ahead.
a quick food for thought that it's, and at the end of the day, bringing people together from everywhere in the world, age groups, different types of people. End of the day, we're here to have fun and play games, you know, and put all the politics and put all the conflicts aside, and just, you know, bring people together, have a few beers, have a few laughs, and that's it. Play games.
Yeah, awesome. And
Game
have
on.
fun, yeah? Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure. We have around 10 minutes left for the questions. And yeah, let's go.
I have a question for Antonio and Gerald. So what is your biggest challenge in convincing a newbie brand to enter the esports scene? Because, I mean, we have almost the same objectives as the traditional sports, but it's quite difficult to explain that the same aspect and that we have big audience.
Yeah, I think the first is to show that esports is a trustworthy ecosystem. I think we were talking about a lot of brands that pulled out because there were no results, and a lot of brands, even that still didn't enter the esports ecosystem, is because they still don't trust, and there's still a bit of an old vision about just being a kids playing video games. So there's a lot of first showing, especially. Of course, this is always hard. It's always hard. This is a sales part to even get one first meeting. But on the first meeting is show not just, you don't enter straight away talking about OG. You start also showing about the potential of the market. And after you show the potential of the market, you try to show why OG would be a good gateway to reach this audience. And I think the key thing is always the digital young tech-navy audience, the Gen Z, the millennials. And because these are the kids that are running away from the traditional TV. Even if they are still connected to sports, they are not as open for brand messaging in traditional sports as they are probably in esports, especially through in-game advertising or like the content tailored ideas that we do with brands. So there's much more room to do stuff with brands as well within esports compared to traditional sports. All of these at a much still cheaper price. Hopefully the market will also grow. And that's also a great opportunity to show for the brands that still didn't enter the market why this is a good time. Because as part of the process, the ecosystem will grow, esports will grow, values will continue to rise eventually, and so it will get more and more expensive for brands to be in this ecosystem. So for the ones that still didn't made it, this is a great time to be a pioneer. I would say that it's still considered to be a pioneer as a non-endemic brand to be in esports, and that's added value compared to maybe a few years later on.
Yeah, I think those points I definitely agree with, and I think like all that stuff. Talon is pretty much aligned with that too. I think at the end of the day, you're just going to give these guys, especially these newbie brands, a good deal. I think you want to maybe kind of ease them in. Sometimes they will take a little bit of convincing, but you want to tell them you can do this, but do 2x of that or 3x. You want to over-deliver, right? You want to initiate them into the space in a good way where they can see a lot of value. Right, so sometimes it's not about, right, we need to drop X number of dollars for a year-long campaign and we may be able to deliver this. Sometimes it is about maybe you do a smaller campaign, you do one of the events, you do one team, not all the teams, you do at least a season or something like that, and you deliver some results that are tangible, and then you go something bigger down the track.
I just wanted to say one thing. I've heard that a very good strategy to convince brands is to give them tickets to a very big tournament and let them feel the goosebumps and hear the screams and to see that passion. Because I've heard from the people I've worked with that that's usually like seals the deal.
That's very true, very true.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we try and do that. We do that in Thailand. We do that in Korea. Try to get them to the big tournaments like TI. And Worlds, because you can really feel that kind of that atmosphere, and it's an unbelievable feeling.
Hello. I know we spoke a lot throughout all the networking opportunities we had, but I would just like to put it out there so we can, have it for legacy and to how much has it become a numbers game, viewers, spectators, fan base, versus how much is it actually a value game? Compared to Formula One, for example, we see Red Bull, we see a lot of sponsors there having, not even winning. I know now it's Red Bull's time, but it hasn't been in the past years, but they stick there. So Red Bull is there with you, Visa, Razer, all the brands that are with T1 or with Talon or with other clubs that we are seeing. But the numbers are not always there, but the value remains. How much, from your experience, is it important for the sponsors, for them to actually leave legacy or give value to the entire ecosystem and to their brand, like, I don't know, Intel does in Katowice for 20 years almost. I know for them it's not a numbers game, and they're not going to sell more Intel-based computers or laptops because of Katowice, but it's a value. How much do you see that actually happening in all of your negotiations with brands and sponsors?
Yeah, so to start, I think it will always be kind of a numbers game because that's always the first thing you go to, and because at the end of the day, the budget comes out of marketing department, they need to justify, so that's the first thing. But when the numbers are there, everything is great, everybody is happy. When the numbers are not there, that's when the second part, I guess, steps in. And I think that's also why, and going back to picking very well the brands that you work with, but also after picking, the relationship that you need to nurture throughout the years, throughout the months with them. And that's also the difference between a sponsorship and a real partnership. And that's what something that we at OG have been trying to do every time. And I think we are fortunate enough to have long-term partnerships because of that. We have been going for the 4th year with Wintermute, 5 years Secret Lab, almost 10 years Red Bull, and so on. It's because of that, the way that we integrate them in everything that we do, the communications and transparency that we show. They are aware that sometimes we have no results. The competitive team maybe are not showing the best results, and that a lot of times transforms into lower numbers on social media, on content that we produce. But they are always aware of what we are doing and what are the next steps to change that. And they need to understand that it's also more than competitive results, is about what we keep doing for our fan base, for our fans, and how we can also on marketing efforts to battle these poor results that a lot of times we have. And so that really comes to inviting the partners to the events, always have regular meetings with them, showcase everything that we are doing. OG has been doing OG hubs across the globe several times a year, and we always invite our partners to visit it, to visit the hubs. It's a good opportunity for them to really see fandom, the passionate fans that we have, the craziness that they follow OG, and even when the results are not there, the fans are still there, and it's important for them to realize that. Because a true partnership, you have the partner with you in the ups and downs, and it's not always easy. Unfortunately, I think esports are still the first market that gets always affected by marketing cuts, but the ones that continue with us, eventually we'll have some downsides, but they will be with us also on the upsides. And we want a partner that is with us in the ups and the downs, not only on the ups.
I'm just gonna say one thing from the market research perspective. There's also different types of the fan, right? There's like a casual fan, or like just a person who watches who's never gonna buy anything, and you have to grow that fandom. And I think the most valuable fan is a generational fan, is the father that brings his child and potentially it lives in the family. And for that, you need to have those long-term partnerships as well.
Jazz, you got 1 minute.
I mean, I would agree with Antonio as well. I mean, I think value versus numbers. I think numbers is important, but I think in terms of like what the partnership should really be doing is both brands elevating each other in a way that gives them more presence within esports or the non-endemic space that kind of just allows for their customers or clients to just have a better feel and a better experience within the space itself. So I think value is definitely very important for sure.
Just wanted to add quickly before time runs out. I think it depends where you look at it. With talent, with OG, I think it's more of a numbers game for the commercial side. But with the federation or the national federations, they do need sponsors as well. And one of those things is the value, the relationship, the legacy. And I think the corporates, maybe they have not only marketing budget, but they have to offset their tax. And most federations may have a thing where the state enterprise or a corporate, they sponsor a national federation and they get tax back as well. So that is a long-term thing. That is more of a relationship and a value, a legacy.
I think we all love what we do, so obviously we all are down to chat a little bit more at the party during the coffee break, and thank you guys so much for questions. Thank you guys for the good chats today, yesterday, and looking forward to more. Thank you everyone, we had a good time.
Thank you.